Hey Cole, the mic's not recording.
So we've all heard stories about when you've done that before.
Oh yeah, I know. Oh yeah, shit, we have.
I love that story. That was the best.
Yeah, people like.
It's so
I haven't
good.
really, some people know, like when I do talks and they know about it, but I haven't really.
No, it's
said
a
it in
good
the
one
public
because
like
people don't think anyone else has made a mistake apart from them. So
I get
think
the
for
first
you to say
message.
that, it's good.
So how I wanted to start it is basically, I know a lot of young people, well not a lot of people my age.
You're young.
Yeah, I'm 28, yeah. So I first found out about you and I used to watch you Saturday, Sunday morning TV. It was like Smile, Dig It,
Yeah.
Eureka.
Yeah, oh God, Eureka.
Like Top of the Pops. I wanted to briefly chat about, because I think I read that you entered through a Disney competition, and I just wanted to know a little bit about that and how you got into presenting and why you chose it.
Well, it was, to be honest, it was a massive accident because I guess I kind of wanted to do acting or theatre or something that felt like it was exciting and the different sort of lifestyle to what I was, leading as a very average teenager in very average northwest London suburbia. And I wanted something exciting, and I love drama and dancing, so I wanted to do that. So I used to just basically go to any audition possible just to get, even if it was an advert, or I did loads of theatre shows, and I loved the sort of versatility of that. And then I went to this one audition which was for Disney Club, and I had no idea it was for a presenter-led show. I thought it was for like a drama.
Okay.
So when they asked me to look in the camera, I was so confused, like, what the hell is this? Why are they asking me to talk about myself? And I just blagged my way through it and somehow ended up in the final 3, and then we had to kind of go on the Disney Club show, and then there was a vote where people voted for who they want. And this was before, Pop Idol and the X Factor and Britain's Got Talent. There weren't any sort of vote-led competitions on TV, so it was quite, a maverick thing to do and out there for the Disney Club. And for some unbeknown reason, I was chosen to be the new presenter on the show. And then I just thought, oh my God, I love this. I was still not sure that I'm meant to be doing it because I didn't feel like a presenter or professional at that point, but I was loving it. And then I just kept, trying to understand more because I was so new to it all. So I was constantly learning about what it took to be a broadcaster, to be a presenter whilst I was doing it. And that was a real privilege, really. And I just really dug my heels in from there and was like, I am not leaving. I'm going to keep doing this and keep trying, and I'm going to keep trying to get better. So it was an accidental start for sure.
Yeah, that's mad. I actually never knew that. That's sick. So that, like, this whole series about, like, what's your drive? Like, I pick people up in the pickup, people that I've met over the years.
It's a great car.
Thank you. And it's actually funny because I briefly touched on it in your Happy Place podcast, but I always remember I used to see you at the most bougiest of events at the palaces. Like, I think one of the last times it was at St. James Palace.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was doing the work.
In the garden.
One of the things that I wanted to talk about in terms of presenting is, like, I find my presenter on Twitter. I put a message out there. I didn't want to do an interview. I think I had an interview the day after with Kelly Rowland, and I was like, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to do it. And I put a message on social, and I was like, I need a presenter. And I found Georgia. I met her in a pub in Kilburn.
Welcome to sbtv.co.uk. I'm Georgia, here with the one and only Kelly Rowland. Hello. Hello.
But it was the shortest time that she had to prepare for an interview. And I was thinking, with you, what has been the shortest time to prepare for an interview, and and who was it?
Sometimes there is so little prep time. I like to be super prepared. I like to really do my homework, feel like I understand someone, or so for instance, when I was doing your Happy Place episode, I was sort of scouring the internet for either interviews you'd done, interviews you'd done visually on video, the work you'd done, the people you'd work with. I kind of want to know roughly, across the board what you've done and what you're about and who you know. So I can go down any avenue when we're actually doing the interview. But sometimes you don't get the luxury of that. And I have certainly had more kind of in, I guess, radio land, things sprung on you, like somebody massive is coming on the show the next day, but then you're working all day and possibly all evening, and you've really got to kind of go in the next day early and do it in an hour and blag it. And then other times, I'm not gonna lie, when I was in my 20s, I was probably just thinking, I'm going out to a gig, I'll probably stay out all night, I'll wing this one. And I've definitely done that with little research. And like, I remember a few interviews that weren't great, where I probably hadn't done much research or bothered to kind of take the care to look at somebody properly.
Has there been one?
Is like, there's been loads. Back in my 20s, and I remember interviewing Brad Pitt when I was, God knows, mid-20s, 24, 25. And really doing very little research, and I think I asked him to like draw a picture during the interview or something really naff, and he was just not into it the whole time. He looked really pissed off, wasn't really, and I'm sure he's a lovely guy, but I caught him on not a great day, or I was just really not doing it for him interview wise. And he wasn't mean or rude, but he was just clearly like, oh God, what are we doing? Why have I got to talk about this? So, you know, I've learned from my mistakes in my 20s that now my interviews, I want to feel comfortable, relaxed, in-depth, informed, but still explorative, although I kind of do a lot of research. They still need to have some revelation about them. But I'd never wing it now out of choice. I am a nerd. I don't go out anyway, so I've got plenty of time in the evenings, but it's all about that preparation for sure.
And would you say, because that leads me on to like tips, it's like you've just given a whole lot of tips, but people that you've done interviews, when you're interviewing people that they're friends with, their social circles, conversation topics, what are some of the tips that you can give to presenters? Because I get so many messages from presenters that want to present for SB, and it's like, people will be watching and be like, because you're at the top of your game.
I used to live in that house, by the way, with a little black door.
Sudbrook Lane.
How cute is it?
The old post office, or this one here?
That little one there in the middle is so
Memory
cute.
lane, taking a trip down memory lane.
You know what? It's so hard to give tips because I think that everybody needs to learn a lot of these lessons like I did on your watch. You know, you have to make mistakes. You're never going to go into a profession and be perfect from the get-go and have a career of perfection where you never make a mistake because, you know, you think you know it all. Like, you have to make mistakes. You have to cock up massively. You have to have real lows where you feel lost in it and you don't know what the hell you're doing. So you work out your way of doing it. The only real tips I would say for presenting, and it's really hard when you start out, is to just be yourself. And it sounds so obvious and a cliche, but when I started, I had all these people I adored, like say Zoe Ball, was my absolute presenter hero. She still is one of mine now. And I wanted to emulate her and be like her. And I would always think, what would Zoe ask here? And what would Zoe do here? And you can't, you've got to be you. Everybody is unique in that space because it's just your personality. You're not an actor, you know, playing a role, and it can be really hard to sort of unearth what you're like because you can have multiple cameras around or radio mics, but you've got to pretend like that's not the case and it's just you being the relaxed, normal you that you would with your friends. And I think it's trying to ignore all the stuff going on around you and just remembering what you're about, and it's much easier said than done, hence why great presenters like Zoe or the late Sir Terry Wogan or Ant and Dec, you know, we all feel we know them or knew them because they were so themselves.
Personable, that's what I find as well.
And it's hard to do that. It's not easy, otherwise everyone would do it. You know, it can be easy enough to read an auto cue, but to be yourself in that space is very, very hard.
And that's why I respect you, because you've come from kids TV, like how first, and you've managed to branch out and go into other areas. And one thing that I like just know over the years is that you stick at something and you do it for long. And it's like, you did kids TV, then you did Radio 1, you did Celebrity Juice, now you're doing The Happy Place. It's like, how does that work? Like for you, like going into new areas and it's a whole new thing, and why do you stay at things for so long?
Well, I think it's a real combination of really sticking at something and having the integrity and the sort of discipline to learn a craft or to reach a certain point with it, married with the absolute necessity of jumping ship when you feel intuitively that it's right to.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, with Radio 1, for instance, I started out on radio with Reggie in our early 20s, and we first of all did like a slot that was on at 4 a.m, so there was like 3 people listening, and it's a really get in the game, really good learning ground where you could cock up and it was fine.
Yeah.
And then we started doing the chart show, and then we did a morning weekend show, and then I did the music show with the Live Lounge. And
by the way, sorry to cut.
Yeah, go.
Birdie was one of the. I remember when you put Birdie on. I remember I was listening. I was like, yes.
Love
like
her.
she was like, I think she was like 14.
I know.
Like,
she was
and it was the skinny Love cover.
Yes.
I remember because I can't remember what I was doing, but I was listening. I was like, oh, she's
Wasn't
like,
it gorgeous?
you know
And she came in with her dad to do the Live
Yeah, because I
Lounge.
heard about that as well.
It was,
yeah.
and I called her the night before, and I had a chat with her because obviously she was a school kid, and I wanted her to feel comfortable, and it was amazing. But you know, I really did have to stick that one out and learn as much as I could, and I'm still learning now. You know, I do Radio 2 quite regularly, and you're constantly learning with radio. It's such a fast-paced medium. But then equally, at the end of my time at Radio 1, I knew deep down it was just time for a change. I wasn't you know, not having a great time. I didn't take for granted the fact that I got to interview all of these brilliant people and have this opportunity, but I knew deep down that I had to have a new chapter, and I think chapters are really important to grow and to learn and to try new things and to not get stuck and to not get complacent, because we all can, even if you've got the best job out there.
Get comfortable, innit?
Yeah,
basically.
You've got to be a bit nervous and on the edge, and certainly with all the Happy Place stuff I'm doing now, it's such new territory and unknown terrain that I'm nervous in a very good way most days, because the risks are higher, because it's my thing. No one's told me to do it. If it goes wrong,
step to that
it's
side.
Exactly. And it's exciting. So, but again, I don't take that for granted. I'm not complacent about any of it. I'm massively grateful, and I'm gonna hopefully stick at this one forever, because it's something that's got lots of, you know, different arms to it. So
I love that. Was it always like a plan to do Happy Place in the end, or did it just happen?
God, no. Everything's been accidental, I'll be honest with you. I've planned so little. I plan more now because I have a bit of focus, but basically after leaving Radio 1, I'd had 2 kids, so I didn't really know what I wanted to do next. There wasn't actually much that I was doing. And I had this idea to write a book, and I'd written a couple of cookbooks, and my publisher was like, look, let's try something else. So I said I'd love to write a book on happiness, and she was kind of really up for me doing a well-being based thing. So basically wrote Happy, not really knowing if it was going to do anything or go anywhere. And it started off this whole lovely conversation with the people that were following what I was doing anyway, and that has just turned into this like beautiful monster of the podcast and all of the other things that I'm doing with Happy Place, like the festival we've got coming up this summer.
I saw that.
Yeah, it's in the south and the north, and it's this huge, beautiful wellbeing festival, and a lot of the design work I'm doing is also with sort of Happy Place in mind, and we've got some really good sort of non-profit initiatives that we're working through at the moment to really give it that sort of space as well.
I saw you was Balance number 2 wellness. Like,
what the hell is that about?
That's mad. That's like, how does that feel to be now recognised for something that you jumped in, and you're getting put in like quite a high position for that as well?
It's really good because, you know, historically for the last 20 odd years, I've had people come up to me and say, oh, you know, I really liked you on this show, or I didn't like you on this show, or oh, I loved your dress, or it's something sort of quite personal. Whereas for the first time ever, about a month ago, someone came up and said, I absolutely love Happy Place. And I just was like, wow, people recognise it now as a brand, and they get what it is. It's not one thing, it's got all of these it's got this multifaceted sort of thing about it. I just clocked
you got a Happy Place like hoodie on as well, a jacket on as well.
I sure have. It is
sick. Got your merch.
Yeah, the merch is there's more merch coming. There's merch on the way.
Sick.
So it's really nice to now. It takes the emphasis off of me, because it's hard when people are either being overly wonderful or awful about you as a person, because it's not really real and it's not good for anyone's brain. Even if it is like mass adulation or whatever, it's not good for a human. So now the emphasis is on something I'm building, and if people like that or have, you know, a critique about it that can help me, then brilliant. That's not blowing up my ego. That's like our hard work is paying off, and it's impacting people in a good way. So it feels amazing, and to be number 2 on that list was really good because it's new to me, and I'm learning in this new area and I'm still finding my feet with it, but just, you know, for people to recognise that it's doing something feels really good.
Is there a time, like, over the years that you thought, oh wow, I really made it? Like,
nope.
No.
Never. I feel now.
Some people be watching this and be like, what do you mean? Like, you're at the top of your game.
No, like, not at all. I feel now, especially more than ever, I'm starting again. I know exactly what I want to do now. Before I kind of didn't. I was like, oh, I must do like the biggest show on TV.
Yeah.
I did some big shows and some fun stuff, but I never felt like I was the top of my game.
Humble.
I just think I was seeing it in a really real way. There was a lot of people who were doing it better than me, and this time I feel like I'm not competing with anyone. I'm not trying to do better. It's my thing, and I know what my goal is and what my vision is, and I'm really clear with it, and I've set my intentions on it, and I'm at the beginning. I'm on the first rung of the ladder with the plans that I've got, and that's so exciting because I've hopefully now got a career and a project that can see me over years and years without having to wait for someone to say, oh, you can come and do this now, you're good enough. It's me deciding when and how we do things, and actually the most important thing is the people that I'm delivering to. So the feedback I'm getting from people, good or bad, and the response that I'm getting is the only response I need, rather than it being like a TV exec or someone. And there's some brilliant people in TV that I've worked with, but still having to wait to hear if you're good enough, or if your show has been recommissioned, or if you're flavour of the month. I can kind of eradicate a bit of that by going, right, what do the people that are actually reading my books, listening to the podcast, etc., want from this, and then I can tailor make it to suit them, and that feels really empowering, and hopefully is helpful to other people, which is one of my main drives really, is trying to do good stuff, good impactful stuff.
And something that I loved that I saw the other day, which you was doing an interview, which was compare and despair, which I've never heard.
Well, I first heard it through a great friend of mine, who's this amazing, wise friend called Zephyr Wildman. And she said it in one of her yoga classes that she was instructing, and I was like, oh my God, that resonates so much with me. So basically, it's a bit of a weird cultural model that we've all got so used to, probably heightened by social media, but that aside, we do it anyway. So you look at the friendship groups around you, the people around you, culturally, the people you see on Instagram, on TV, whatever, and our instant instinct is to compare ourselves, and then that always leads to a despair of some kind. So that compare and despair. So, oh my God, look at this person, look what they're achieving, why am I not doing that? It's instant, that combination, and it's really lethal, and it has been massively exasperated due to social media, and we all need to, we can't stop it instantly because it's really hard, but we can certainly be aware of it and think, okay, I'm doing it. I know I'm doing that right now. And I think as long as you're aware you're doing it, you can slightly dilute that feeling and mitigate that despair that you might instantly grab hold of. Because I don't know a person that doesn't do that. Even people that are seen as top of their game. It
resonated with me so much.
Yeah, it's a good one.
I wrote that. And you talk about yoga. I've seen you paint, you cook, like you're a mother first and foremost. Like, is there anything that you've like been in your career that you've been like, oh, I wish I did that, or I wish I learned that?
Yeah,
you do quite a lot.
So. I mean, I've been very driven by my passions, which I feel very fortunate and privileged to be in the position to be able to do. Yeah. That a lot of my work now combines things I'm highly passionate about. But there are some things there's lots I still want to achieve, definitely, but outside of what I already do, it's weirdly probably to try and stop a bit more rather than do, because since I was 15 I haven't had a break. I haven't done the gap year after uni. I didn't do uni. Maybe I would like to do that, a bit of a university thing, like a bit of a formal education on a subject. That's probably what I'm missing more than anything, is studying something like massively for a few years. You know, maybe the history of art, which I'm really interested in, or much like Ruby Wax has done, you know, studying cognitive behaviour and psychotherapies. I would love to know more about that to aid the work that I do. So that's certainly, but also married with trying to not do everything and learning to stop a bit more, because I'm not very good at that, and I always try and do too much and tie myself in knots with that. So learning to get that balance, I think, is probably got to be a goal that and not even a goal because I'm so goal orientated the whole time. It should just be something that I relax into a bit more and let go.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, studying a subject or doing a university degree, maybe when my kids are older, or maybe when they're at uni, that would feel perhaps embarrassing for them, but nice for me to kind of also study something that I desperately want to know about. What would you study if you did it?
I don't know, I think I'd do film. I've been thinking about it.
You'd ace that.
But one of the things like that I would really want to do is film and go back to film school and learn a bit more about that, because I've always tried to put other people on and perfect their skills. So I want to do that, and that's what I was thinking. It would have been sick to. Yeah,
but there's still time for, you know, why put an age limit on any of these things? Why not do it later on in life when you've got that time and space to do it, and once, you know, there's a bit more freedom because we've, you know, respectively reached goals that we're kind of more content with. I think it's nice to go back and do a bit of studying. Oh, look at the deer.
I know, I've actually come through Richmond Park quite a lot.
Oh, I love it.
It's
look at the deer.
proper sick.
They're adorable. It's so beautiful in here. It's my fave.
It is proper good. This is a proper scenic route for everyone that's watching it. We're driving through Richmond Park at the moment.
So pretty, so pretty.
And what's been some of the proudest moments in your career? Like, obviously you talked about Happy Place. Like, over the 20 or so years, like, what's been some of your most proudest moments?
Yeah, I guess I've luckily had a few where I've been able to stop and feel good about what I've done rather than beat myself up or wish I had done better, which is again something that I deal with a lot, feeling I haven't done enough. But I have had some moments of pride which have been really lovely. I would say being asked to be an ambassador for Mind and the Prince's Trust, due to the sort of work that I was already doing, to feel valued in what I could perhaps offer feels really nice, and to know that actually the work I'm doing with both of those amazing charities is doing something and is helping individuals and helping really, like, you know, the Prince's Trust inside out, you know, like I do. It's just a phenomenal machine and it feels great to be part of that. So there's lots of ones that are kind of because I feel there's been a good impact, like with my book or my podcast. When anyone even Instagrams me and says it's helped them, I feel immensely proud and excited by that. But there's also been some sort of slightly more, I guess, like irreverent fun ones. Like when I was about 23, I interviewed Prince William and Harry, and it was for their wonderful big concert they did for their mum. And I couldn't believe that I had been asked to do it, and I really, again, sort of went away and studied hard and learned the interview off by heart, so I felt confident when I was there. And I'd never met anyone from the royal family at this point, and I felt completely out of my depth, absolutely terrified, if I'm honest with you. I just didn't know what to do. It was bizarre. The whole thing was just surreal when you're like, why am I here? I'm from a suburban town. I went to a normal state school. I don't know anyone who's even posh. Like, what am I doing? It was just weird. And the interview, I felt, was really lovely, and I really enjoyed it. And I came out buzzing, and it was sort of a proud moment just for me as a little human being. Like, wow, I've just come from a random part of the UK and I've ended up in Clarence House interviewing these two royal family members. It just felt bizarre. And I did feel for the first time quite proud of myself that I'd sort of worked hard enough to be even asked to do that. So there's been some fun ones like that, I guess, as well. Yeah, so like over the years you've presented so many different shows, like I said, in the early days of the childhood days. More recently you did Celebrity Juice, but that's like, you're not doing Celebrity Juice anymore. Has there been any shows that you've seen that you've been like, oh, I'd really like to do that? Like for me, it was Our Planet. Like I love the David Attenborough programs. I was like, I'd love to do something like that. He lives around here. Oh, is it? I've never actually seen him before. Like, I've seen him twice posting letters in the letterbox. Oh yeah, I saw you posted up that tweet where you I wanted to say something.
Someone was like, "You're Fearne Cotton, what are you talking about?"
Like, he doesn't know who I am.
I'm sure he knows who you are.
He won't. I thought in my head I was having this great friendship with him. Like, we've said hi, he's asked me to go to the bakery for coffee, but I chickened it and I couldn't speak. I just was like, and ran home. Man. It's silly. But I so admire him, like you. And I think it probably would be along those lines of, you know, I've been loving Blue Planet Live, and no way am I in any position to do that sort of show, because great people like Chris Packham, who have been doing that sort of broadcasting for years, are just perfection. But I love that sort of programming. So I don't know. I think it'd have to be something that felt like it was making a positive difference and doing something good, like that show certainly does. So maybe I guess a show like that was really helping people and dealing with people in a similar way to that show does with our planet and wildlife.
You
did Eureka, which was like a science.
Oh my god, this is the most hilarious thing. So we did this science show, Eureka, which
educating
people about science. I got a D in science. I was the least perfect person for that show, but somehow I got it. I mean, it was so fun doing that show and so ridiculous, but I did not know what I was doing. I have no clue about science at all. I completely flunked it at school.
You winged it.
But there I was teaching the kids of the UK about, very loosely, physics and biology. And maybe a bit of chemistry, but it was really, really good fun. But yeah, I don't think there's anything on TV now that I'm desperate to do. I just think it's all about now finding my own feet and working out, you know, what feels right for me. You know, I'd love to do Top of the Pops more regularly. We love doing that at Christmas time, and I would love that to come back weekly, but that old rumour and argument's been going on for a long time with no movement, so I doubt that's ever going to happen. But I do love doing that show.
Yeah. So music's still like a call. Like, who are you listening to? Like the educating.
So new. You know, I'm all about very old music and new music, and that's kind of traditionally what I've always talked about on the radio. And new music wise, I love Sam Fender. I think he's incredible.
Yeah, I've heard Sam Fender.
I think he's brilliant. I love his music. I can't wait for his album to come out. I like G Flip. I've only had a couple of G Flip songs, but there's just a beautiful quality to her voice and like the production. Also Yebba.
Oh yeah, but do you know she was just in? She messaged me yesterday because she was doing a Jonathan Ross show of the Mumford and Sons. Yeah.
That song Evergreen.
Oh yeah, that
floors me.
And My Mind as well.
Her.
That one's a big track.
I mean, what a voice! What a voice. I would say they're probably like the newer. I still, you know, love people like Hosier. I thought his new record was exceptional. Just his voice and the content of what he's talking about is amazing. And then a lot of old stuff we listen to at home, a real random mix of stuff that I never ever get bored of.
Do you know what would be sick? What I just thought of now?
Yeah.
Happy Place album. You must have thought of it.
Wow, I've actually started curating music for Apple.
Sick.
So I've got 4 playlists on Apple Music now. One's a Happy Place one, which is, so you're so on it. You're so on it. You're always ahead of everyone else. This is why you do what you do. You're so ahead of the curve. So yeah, we've done these, like one of them is all Happy Place, like nice chilled music. One's for cooking, one's for working out, and one's old and new. And then we'll do more as we go. But that's been really fun because it was such a big part of what I did at Radio 1. So it's nice to still be able to put that out there.
Happy Place is like a business at the end of the day, isn't it? So I feel like as a presenter now, you're sort of like an entrepreneur. Do you think people are born as entrepreneurs, or is it as it allowed you to become an entrepreneur through the work that you've done through presenting?
It's very interesting.
How do you feel like it's gone for you?
I think it's probably a bit of both. The main thing for me is my drive, and that I'm absolutely born with, and I feel very lucky. Like, I am an absolute doer, and it's sometimes massively beneficial and sometimes it's hugely detrimental to my well-being because I don't know when to stop, because I love it. And I am very organised with things. I have full clarity with what I want to do. I can do lots of things at once, and that doesn't bother me. I like multi-skilling and having lots of projects on the go, but I do my own head in with too many thoughts, ideas, being impatient, all those things.
Relate.
Yeah, but the entrepreneur bit I think has been a learning curve, because I've been lucky enough to have this couple of decades where I've done a lot of hard graft and learned and made massive mistakes and done good things that I've seen with either collaborations I've done, brands I've worked with, teams I've worked with, more importantly, because it's about, as you know, a team. and I've seen what works, and also actually a really important bit of that, communication, because I think actually so much of being an entrepreneur, a business person, a team leader is all about communication, telling people what you need from them, want from them, don't want from them, and it's not about bossing people around, it's about delegating, and it's about sharing, and it's about listening to other people, taking advice. So that's been a huge learning curve for me, and I think if I'd done this any earlier, it probably wouldn't be working out as it is now, because I wouldn't have been ready. So I don't think I was born to be an entrepreneur, but I think I was born with a very good drive that's enabled me to move into a new space. Yeah,
with a gene, and now it's been unlocked, and now you can realise.
Or maybe it's, I've watched my parents, and by osmosis it's sort of seeped in that they're very hard-working people. My dad's a sign writer, he has been since he was 15, and he works incredibly hard every day and enjoys what he does still. And my mum has been a bit of a jack of all trades, and out of need had to do sometimes 5 different jobs. So when I was a kid, she was an orthodontist nurse, she was delivering Next goods in her car, she was cleaning the neighbours' houses.
Great, your mum.
She was amazing.
Sick.
So I watched all of that without really knowing I was watching it. So I can see the multi-skilling, and I can see my dad's sort of discipline, and I've been able to understand what comes from that. We weren't like going on fancy holidays and living a lifestyle. We just had, a regular sort of suburban life. But I saw that how hard they worked meant that we could go on a camping holiday every now and again, or go and buy a new puffer jacket from Wembley Market, etc. Which was my,
I think that was everyone's idea back in the day. It was like, Wembley Market.
If you were Northwest, it was Wembley Market.
I've been there a few times.
I went there every single weekend, and I understood that from a young age. So I guess it's a bit of all of it, and I do have my parents to thank for that massively, and my dad's still now, working extremely hard. And I like that. I like the feeling of hard work. It feels good to me, and perhaps sometimes it becomes a comfortable space for me when it shouldn't, and I should learn it's 8 p.m, stop thinking about stuff, or it's the weekend, stop trying to brainstorm an idea. But it's too exciting. It's too exciting. Like what you do, you could take your thing anywhere, like you are. You're doing so many different things at one time.
Yeah, I never thought in a million years, like I said, if my 12-year-old, 11-year-old me, when I was watching on TV, and then say, when you're older, Jamal, you're gonna have Fearne Cotton drive behind the car. I'd never think that in a million years. So it's like, this whole new setup is so different. Not different, it's just so new to me, but I'm trying it out. And it's when I see people like yourself trying new things out, it's like, it just makes me think, like, why not? Like, what's the worst that can happen? And I feel like a load of people need to take that on board and try new things out.
But I love stories like that. Like, for me, to see someone like you doing what you're doing, or like, say, a great athlete or a great musician, maybe with a great musician, they are born with a certain level of skill and talent. I don't think I've been born with any particular talent. I think I just really work hard. So I have become better at things I've done, not because I was naturally born to be a broadcaster, because I kept learning and honing the craft until I got better at it. And I think that's a nice message to put out there, like, for people to see what you've done. You weren't handed any of this on a plate, like, oh, here's this whole empire that exists. You built it from the ground up. So it's nice for people to sort of see that, like, you can make good positive changes, and you don't have to be fenced in by your upbringing, where you come from in the country. I didn't have any contacts to the TV world. I lived in the suburbs of London. I came to London like 3 times in my whole childhood. We didn't go into London. There was no reason to. I had no connection to any of this. It was a bit of luck, and then it was a lot of bloody hard work. And I think it's nice to kind of remind people that they are capable of so much and can do so much, and that none of us should feel fenced in by anything to do with us. And we've seen so many brilliant mavericks from all parts of the world, with even faced with great adversity, do brilliant things. And it's always a wonderful reminder for all of us to sort of hear those stories and see people do exciting things they love, even when perhaps they were told they shouldn't, couldn't, or whatever. It's exciting. And I'm interested with you, like, looking ahead to your future projections and where you see yourself at, do you have a plan? Like, do you know what you want to do in 10 years? Or do you go, right, this is the next building block, and then let's see what happens after that?
Yeah, so yeah, I'm in the next building block at the moment. I'm doing a lot of projects with young people, which will hopefully be launching soon. I've been working on it behind the scenes for about a year now, but it's finally coming to fruition. So that's like the next thing that I think I want to do for the next 5 years is like helping out young people and stuff in my community.
It's all about community.
Yeah, and I've realised as I've got older, I've realised that a lot more. So yeah, that's my next bit. And then doing like catching up with people and this thing is quite exciting for me, the pickups. I just want to pick people up that I've met over the years that I might have not necessarily got to talk to a lot, or maybe I do talk to a lot, and just mix it up and try and create conversation. I think that's and inspire people.